Evening, everybody. Should be live, should be able to hear me nice and loud and clear. Let me know as always if you can't. But yeah, welcome to this semi-deadline stream. It's not really a deadline stream, it's a final thought stream. We've got 6 hours until the actual deadline, which for me here in sunny old England would mean 3 a.m., 2 a.m. stream. It's just no, not happening this weekend. I'm still recovering my old bones from last weekend in Australia. So yeah, I'm just gonna chat for a bit, answer your questions in chat, etc. Go through my team choices for this week. I've already made transfers for my team 2 and team 3 because I care less about them, to be honest, but team 2 is quite straightforward because I can afford this build of McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, and I'm just going to absorb the 0.6 losses here from Hadjar and Bortoleto, just suck it up, try and balance out with Hulkenberg and just try and maximise the points in team 2 because it's got off to a good start. And team 3, I just basically got rid of Signs in here, and I think Doohan for Behrman, just to again try and negate some of the budget loss, and I'm going to go down that road. And then my team 1, which is what I'm going to be focusing on right here, right now, is what I'm going to be kind of discussing over the next. I have no idea how long this stream is going to be actually. Like, I'm thinking maybe up to like an hour. I don't know. We'll see how we get on. We see how much talking I can put up with and how much talking of me you can put up with, how many questions you've got, that sort of thing. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions regarding chip usage because I myself am likely, not decided yet, but likely to use my wildcard to get myself out of this massive hole I found myself in from the first race in Australia. And there'll be people in a better position who are looking to go limitless, people that have got slightly more unscathed in Australia, who aren't looking at the likes of Bortoleto, Doohan, Hadjar, Alonso, Sainz, all these people that DNF'd last week. Because of the way the game works this year, it looks like they're going to be dropping 0.6 million pretty much regardless what they do. So yeah, I'm sure if people, like I say, came away from Australia unscathed, then I think Limitless is perfectly viable. If I hadn't had this horrible budget situation that I have to deal with, I think Limitless looks good. I used Limitless here last year in China to great effect, and if it wasn't for the budget situation, I think I would actually just go Limitless. I'll go triple McLaren, triple Ferrari, and Max Verstappen, and not really think much more about it. I think it's a good option. And let's just go into my team 1. But I do think that this budget situation I find myself in needs addressing. I don't want to fall too far behind. The fact that people can already afford teams like this, Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes. I want to be able to do that without these kind of budget losers on my team as well. So I am definitely looking to negate that budget loss, and with the use of a probable wild card, thinking of moving into a team that's going to gain me as much budget as I can without scuffing on the points potential in this important sprint weekend. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and that's what I'm going to be discussing in this stream. I will just say hello to people in the chat because I can see a few messages popping up over to my right hand side. So hello everybody. Good evening PPM. Hello Sanson, Sasha, Yeah, what about Limitless? Again, I've just discussed this. I think it's a perfectly good option if you want to go Limitless. Glenn, good to see you in here. Max, seems like a clear wild card for Team 1. Yeah, I mean, that's, like I say, I'm not locked into that because, well, again, we'll kind of discuss the fact that Williams, there is a bit of a question mark about Williams for 2 reasons, actually. Now, why don't we get straight into it, actually, straight away? Because let's address the Williams issue. Williams look great for the wild card, okay? They look like, in fact, if we flick over to F1 Fantasy Tools, you can see on the down here, we can see that they're likely to gain 82% chance here. All they need is 6 points and they go up 0.6 million. It looks good. Albon's in a good position. I think he's P9, I want to say. Sainz, not too bad. So there's opportunity there. The F1, the official F1 sims also put them the Williams race pace as 5th best, which is kind of what we want, that we don't expect anything better than that. So yeah, the Williams look all right in that regard, but there's question marks over them for 2 reasons for me. One is I had a question mark about them coming into this track as to whether it really suited them, and my impressions from Friday is it doesn't suit them. I was worried about these long duration corners coming into China, thinking that it would expose the deficiencies of the Williams car. And that's almost exactly what Albon came out and said in an interview earlier, saying exactly like the long duration corners putting this extra stress on the tyres. They can't get their tyres in the right window. So it's similar to what I was thinking beforehand. And the fact that Albon's coming out and it's kind of highlighting these long duration corners, saying, it's not ideal, it's not sure the track is particularly suiting them, that gives me question marks, first of all. And then the second thing is obviously this big thing about the panic about whether they're going to get disqualified. And the truth is, we don't know. I don't know. No, I don't think anyone really knows, apart from maybe the FIA. Maybe even they don't know at the moment. But from what I understand, we're going to find out in the morning. That's the last I heard, and that's the morning in Shanghai. Which, what's the time now? 9 o'clock. So I guess, what's the time in Shanghai? There must be like at least 7, 8, 9 hours ahead of me. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head, but it will show. We should find out in the next few hours, I'd imagine, right? We should find out in the next few hours about this Williams thing, how it's going to affect them. I don't think they're going to get, okay, they might get disqualified, in which case it's good for fantasy because they get disqualified from sprint quali where there's no points awarded, so it shouldn't affect our teams. And then they just start like in the pit lane or at the back of the grid or whatever. That should be fine. In fact, it's great if Albon on signs are like P19, P20, overtakes, positions gained. That's looking pretty stellar for our teams. There is obviously the concern that we don't know exactly how it's going to work with the rulings, and maybe they do get disqualified, and our teams get labelled with that kind of minus 25 points, minus 20, minus 25, whatever it is now. It's really insignificant. The difference really is it's a big whopping negative score regardless, and that is a concern. I don't think that's going to affect us, but the fact that it's even a possibility would, if I went for the Williams on my wild card. Let's just show you the kind of what I'm thinking, because there are some builds here that I'm considering. If I went for the Williams on my wildcard and they ended up like getting minus 20 odd for for getting disqualified, it would really be a violin dime at that point, because that just compound the misery of Australia. Let's just see. So what else would I do? I think Piastri over Norris is another big thing that people are talking about. For me, Piastri. I don't think it's worth overthinking too much. Yes, Lando Norris has got that kind of driver of the day vote, but if you looked at the driver of the day vote from Australia, Piastri was only a couple of % off Norris's vote. And maybe that's something to do with the fact it was a home race and everything. But even like after he spun off, he still managed to be like within 2 or 3% of Norris's vote. So I think Piastri's got some potential for driver of the day. And I also think he's got a great chance of winning the race. A great chance, starting in P3. In what looks like a car which has got really good race pace as well as good qualifying potential to tomorrow/today, depending on what time zone you're in. I think Piastri is just a great shout, and he's so much cheaper than Norris. He's so much cheaper than it enables us to fiddle about our team. So we get rid of all these DNF boys that are likely to just drop another 0.6 unless there's some miracle. And then we go to the guys that we think are going to get points, basically, the likes of Hulkenberg, the likes of Stroll, Albon, if you can afford him. And I could afford him if I change other things around, but at the moment, this is not sorted by value. It's kind of annoying. I would most likely go to either Tsunoda or Behrman. I've been torn on this all day because I've been looking at this as kind of a wildcard option. I'm not really sure what the best option is between Tsunoda and Behrman here. I'm not sure. I quite like Tsunoda as quite a reliable, trusted driver, and the racing balls look okay. But Behrman's got a slightly better chance of gaining that value back. He's already got 2 points on the board, so that gives him a head start over Tsunoda, who's sat here on 0 points. It's not much, but when you're in one of these backmarker kind of cars, it's important that every single point is kind of crucial. And in fact, again, if we go back to the F1 Fantasy Tools and look at the potential change of price here, what's the situation? So Tsunoda needs 11 points across the weekend to get that 0.6 rise. I think 11 points on a sprint weekend is definitely possible. Tsunoda's been good for overtakes in the past, and I think that's within the realms of possibility. Even if he only gets 9 points, he goes up 0.2. But he has to get like at least 6 points, or he's going to start dropping big points. Like, there's minus 0.6 and whatnot. Tsunoda not too great. When we look at Behrman, it's not that much better. Like, he's on 2 points at the moment. He needs 6 to get to the next rise, so effectively he needs 4 points. He's starting in P12, 13, whatever he is. The race pace of the Haas does give me concern. So. I'm not sure about Behrman versus Tsunoda. I'm not sure what you guys think, but it's kind of close. This is kind of one of the iterations of the wild card I've been looking at, I have been toying with, like I've been toying with earlier on in the week, more of this kind of Antonelli build to really kind of maximize the price gain, and then I can just kind of ignore Behrman and go with someone like an Albon. And in terms of price gain potential, this team looks incredibly good because Antonelli is near enough guaranteed a rise, Hulkenberg's guaranteed, not actually guaranteed, but near enough. Stroll near enough guaranteed. Ocon looks okay for a potential rise. Sat here on 8 points. It looks decent for a potential another rise. Albon looks very well set for another rise. Williams should do well. They should get another rise. McLaren, like this whole team just looks great for rising, and it can gain me anywhere between sort of 3.5 to 4 million. Like that's pretty phenomenal considering I've lost 1.5 million, whereas the beginning, from the first race of the season. I think the fact that a team like this can get you that much budget is super appealing, and that's why I was in my team selection video earlier on in the week, and it's still in my mind. The Mercedes look okay. Antonelli, a couple of attempts, 2-3 attempts back from his teammate. Russell's certainly looking decent. He's always in the mix in qualifying. Russell's impressed me in recent times with his qualifying pace, but in this particular build, in terms of trying to build that budget of the B-tier assets, which Antonelli is for another race or two, it is certainly appealing going down this road. Just kind of neglect the whole points potential. I wonder what this actually shows up as on the old calculator. Got my team one on here at the moment. Let's just have we add this on. So we go McLaren, Williams. Bear in mind, sort of 215, 220 is kind of the ballpark for these kind of the best teams available at the moment. So we can go Albon, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Ocon. So the points potential is quite a big hit, isn't it? It's quite a big hit there. 140, but then the price gain is really there. But yeah, that looks like the latest sims actually are pretty poor looking for this kind of build. So that's why it's perhaps slightly more on the back burner, just because Antonelli looks like he's probably gonna finish P6, P7, P8 in that region. That doesn't excite me for 2 times. I think that's where we're losing a lot of points. And you compare this to the Piastri 2 times over here, who's sat on 78. Look at expected points comparison. Piastri 39, Antonelli 18. It's more than double. It's like quite a big difference there going Antonelli. So this team looks really nice on paper. Is it? I mean, and it will get you that budget. Is it worth the extra, 0.6 million, maybe, maybe $1 million over the likes of the points potential of someone like Piastri? I'm thinking no. I don't think I need to go completely all in at this point with how Mercedes are looking. And like I said, they look all right, but I don't think I need to go kind of all in to that extent. I think I'd more likely sit on a team like this. Again, I'm not sure about Tsunoda or Behrman, but I'll put Tsunoda in for now. And I apologise, I completely neglected the chat. Terrible at this game. Right, let me see what else is going on. Right, deadline stress, says John McDonnell. Yep, starting to feel it a bit, but I feel a bit more comfortable, actually. I feel a bit more comfortable. Like, what happened in Australia happened. I took the 3 -20s. I'm taking the pain with the budget loss. And all I can really do is kind of shrug that off and try and revert some of this budget loss with a team that looks something like this, I think. There's not really much more we can do about it. Those of us that got hit by the DNFs, we just kind of have to, like I say, shrug it off and move on. But it's this is another thing. This is obviously a wildcard team because it's costing me like 20-30 points, whatever it is, to switch to. And it's probably like the least excited I've ever been to do a wildcard team in F1 Fantasy. I'm normally like, if I want to use the wildcard, it's like because I want to shift into this kind of performance shift in from the actual F1 cars. But that's just not happening. I'm using it purely to shift away from the budget issue, which is a very different way of playing the game this season. And I think, like, I put a post out on Twitter yesterday kind of explaining my thoughts on this, saying I feel like we're all going to need like 4 or 5 wildcards this season, because there'll be occasions down the line where we also get hit with like 2 or maybe 3 DNFs, or in some cases people have been hit with like 4 or even 5. It's been extreme. Race week 1, extreme. And if we get hit like that again, then we're going to be crying out for a wild card again. So burning it this early is pretty sad. But at the same time, do I really just want to sit here and just take another like 1.8 million loss or whatever it is in budget? I might as well just use the wild card, get myself out of it, and then try and navigate it accordingly going forward. I think it's kind of magnified and exemplified to a larger extent the fact that all these DNFs happened in race week 1 as well, because then it affects the average a lot more, because the average is focused very much on that DNF from that one race, because then the other 2 races, the imaginary races, are just scoring 0 and 0. So that average is heavily weighted, and in fact entirely weighted to the DNF factor. So we're likely to see, with a high certainty, pretty much, that these guys that have suffered, the likes of doing Hadjar, Bortetto, etc., it looks like a high certainty that they're going to drop again. So this is a weird kind of situation we find ourselves in after the first race. Right, questions in the chat. Do you think Ferrari, McLaren, Albon? Oh my goodness. McLaren, Williams, Piastri, Ferrari, McLaren, Albon. Yeah, see, the thing is with that Ferrari, McLaren, I'm talking to Augustinas here, who's saying, do you think Ferrari, McLaren with Albon, Hulk, Stroll, Behrman, Ocon is good, or should I switch to the McLaren, Williams, Piastri? I think particularly in a sprint weekend, I think it's very important to have a decent 2 times option, and I think the best option of that team you suggested would be Albon, and I would not be very happy putting a 2 times on Albon, to be honest. Antonelli is probably the minimum I would go down to for a 2 times. Anyone down here you're going to miss out on a lot of points, so I'd rather go with the McLaren, Williams, Piastri build. How would you build a team if you were starting fresh for week 2? Oh my goodness, is there some newbies in here that have missed the first week, or maybe some people have started new accounts? I wouldn't be surprised if people have done that, given how dire some of the teams performed in race week 1. But I am not advocating that, because as I've found out, it's against terms of service, blah blah blah, as well as being kind of, for me, it's a little bit dishonest. I don't want to be dishonest with myself. I don't want to be dishonest with you. So I'm definitely not going to be creating a new team from scratch. But if I was going to start a team from scratch, God, that's quite tough actually. I haven't even thought about it, because I haven't really put any thought into that. I guess you got 100 million, so I guess it would look not too dissimilar to what we're doing here with likes of Piastri. I think Piastri's just like the best 2 times here, even though like the Ferraris look pretty decent this weekend. I think the fact that Piastri is just cheaper than all these other assets up here, he's in the best car, he's got a good chance of sprint victory, as well as a fair chance, pole. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Piastri win the sprint, get pole, win the Grand Prix. That wouldn't surprise me if that happened come Sunday. So I think it's he would definitely just be a kind of number 1 candidate for the 2 times. McLaren also just looked so strong. That's why I'm kind of shifting into this McLaren constructor build. I honestly think if I started a new team, it'd probably look kind of similar to what's going on here in Piastri and McLaren, and then I'd look again to try and just maximise the budget gainers, to try and get the budget up as much as possible. What is this? Oh, Joe. I'm really sorry about this name. Joachim. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm sorry, Joachim. Just thank you for doing this every race. I realise it must take a lot of time out of your week, and that makes me appreciate all the more. Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you to send me 50 sec. I honestly have no idea what that is, but thank you for taking the time to write the message and send me some money. Thanks very much. It is something that definitely takes a lot of time, a lot of thought, and I'm glad you appreciate it, so thank you for saying so. Right, what else have we got in here? My team is same as yours, but Russell and Sonoda instead of Piastri and Oscar, the same issues. Interesting. I've got so much to catch up on the chat. Let's put a poll in here. Let's just see. I can't. Why is this not letting me type? There we go. I'm just going to put a poll up for you guys to see how we're doing. Oh my goodness, caps lock. I'm having a nightmare with my typing at the moment. Oh my goodness, now it's gone half caps lock, half not. Well, we're going full caps lock. There's no going back. I feel like those are the only real options here. I mean, people might be using other chips, but I'd be kind of interested to know how many people are actually going kind of wildcard, because I'm, like I say, probably about 90% going wildcard at this point. If it wasn't for the budget issues, I'd probably be 75-80% going limitless. I think a lot of people are going to be using chips. Already the wild cards are jumping up there at 60%. Right, I've got loads and loads of stuff to chat about here still. There's too many. There's literally too many. Oh my god, I am terrible at keeping up the chat. I apologise. I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Greetings from Austria. Hello, welcome, feed clogger. If you're going for budget, ditch Piastri, go for Kimi. It's a no-brainer. Right. Hero Tommy has said, if you're going for budget, ditch Piastri, go for Kimi. It's a no-brainer. I'm not sure it is a no-brainer. I don't think it's a no-brainer. I mean, yeah, Kimi obviously is going to gain 0.6, barring like a double DNF. If he DNFs a sprint, DNFs the race, then it's a shocker and he's going to lose money. He's almost certain going to go up 0.6. I think Piastri's also very likely to go up 0.3, and he's going to score. I think he's got a much better chance of scoring quite considerably more points. So we can't just focus on the budget. This is a sprint weekend. We have to take into account some amount of point scoring. And I think that the 0.3 difference between Antonelli and Piastri, I'm actually thinking it's not enough for me to kind of go down that route. If we flick it back to the old budget builder on F1 Fancy Tools, we look at Antonelli, he's like 90% to go up here. So Antonelli only needs -9, so he's almost guaranteed to go up 0.6. Piastri, to go up 0.3, needs 18 points. I think as long as Piastri doesn't DNF, he is quite easily going to score 18 points. So he's likely, very likely in my opinion, to go up 0.3. So if he's going to score like double Antonelli's points on average, if we did this race 10 times in a row, I reckon 9 times out of 10 Piastri would score like double Antonelli's points. For an extra 0.3, an extra couple of million, I think Piastri is just the answer right now. Antonelli is certainly a nice option because he's a bit cheaper and he enables you to pump up, turn a Tsunoda maybe into an Albon, something like that, give you a bit more guarantee of the price gain in that department. But in isolation, Piastri versus Antonelli, I think it's Piastri for me. Right, what else are we going on? We need Behrman versus Tsunoda resolution. It's crucial, says Glenn. Yeah, well, that's kind of where I'm at, because I think right this second, this is kind of where I'm at. I will say one thing. If the whole Williams debacle comes out, Williams is going to get disqualified, there's potential for us losing points, whatever. There is a chance I don't go Williams. I think longer term, when I say longer term, I mean the next 2-3 races, probably at least, I want Williams in the team if I'm going for a build like this. There is an argument to say you could drop it to someone down here, like an Alpine or a Haas, someone in that region. I think it looks horrible, but like putting a Haas in here for budget gain potential, like they're almost guaranteed to go up. Again, if they avoid some DNFs, if they avoid anything stupid, they're very likely to go up in price. Very likely to go up in price. So they're a good alternative, cheap alternative to the likes of the Williams. I think Alpine would also be a good option, except the fact that they've carried a DNF over from Australia, so they're going to drop value. So Alpine are kind of off the menu, but the fact that they're starting quite far back in sprint quality is quite nice, and their race pace looks okay. So I think Alpine will do all right, but in terms of the budget gain, I don't trust them enough to gain it. So I'm going to go for this second cheap constructor. Williams would be my first choice, barring any stupidity with the disqualification shenanigans. Maybe, I don't think Aston Martin. I think Aston Martin in a similar boat. The fact that Alonso took a DNF for the team is going to hamper their potential there as well. You could go down to somewhere down here, Saubers or Racing Bulls, whatever. Again, I don't think I'm going down that route. I think Haas are kind of the next and maybe only option in this region. And that can, again, unlocks the 5.9 million, so you wouldn't even need to worry about Tsunoda. You could just go straight up to someone like an Albon. 2.3 million, I don't know if there's much more you can do with that. Not really, no, you're kind of just stuck on Ocon there. You kind of go for a team like this. Again, going hard on Haas seems kind of wrong to me, but if you want just kind of budget and the Williams are concerning you, then you can go down this route, because Albon should be alright in that respect. But yeah, I think where my head's at the moment, though, is, get off my screen, Alex, is going with the Williams route, and then trying to decide between this Tsunoda versus Ocon build. So again, we look at the likelihood of gaining points. Ocon only needs a couple of points to go up, so that's pretty nice. Ocon, I'm talking about Behrman. That's because he's in the Haas, and I just saw the Y. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to talk about Ocon. No, Behrman versus Tsunoda. It is tight. There's only like 5 points in it for that price gain. Behrman, starting where he is in sprint quali, in the meat grinder, has race pace. They've admitted themselves they're kind of surprised by how bad they are. I would anticipate Behrman to be dropping places in the sprint in a few hours' time. I would not be at all surprised to see Behrman drop back. which doesn't excite me. Another reason why the Haas constructor doesn't particularly excite me. Ocon starting further back is really nice. It gives him a good boost. But yeah, Tsunoda scoring 11 points. I think it's in the realms of possibility. His starting position means he might gain a position or two, might get an overtake or two, might score a point or two. He could be at the end of the sprint. He might already be on 5 or 6 points, and then he only needs another, 4, 5, 6 points in the entire Grand Prix, and he gets a 0.6 rise. So I do quite like Tsunoda, and I think long term, and again, I'm talking long term, I'm saying like the next 2 or 3 races maybe, I think I would prefer Tsunoda over Behrman, again, for the reasons that I don't really like Haas. Their race pace concerns me, etc., etc. And I quite like Tsunoda as a kind of an option, as a kind of safe kind of driver. Someone that is really at one with his car. He knows the car inside out and gives me confidence. I like that. So I think right this second, Tsunoda's filling this slot. Again, he's got slightly less chance of getting the big price game. Slightly less chance, but I think he's still got a reasonable chance of at least avoiding a 0.6 drop, which he's already got. I think it's likely he'll get a rise. I think it's in the realms of strong possibility. Right, what are we doing in the chat? Because again, I've probably missed about a million messages. This is actually a lot harder than it looks, trying to keep up with you guys. So Raymond Carvalho says, hey, PPM, do you think a budget building wildcard on a sprint weekend is more viable, or just taking a points hit to maximise points? I mean, if I was trying to maximise points this weekend, I would probably just go Limitless and take my budget pain with my DNFers from Australia. I do think Limitless looks fine. Triple McLaren, triple Ferrari, Max Verstappen. Yeah, I think it looks good. I mean, China's a good track for overtakes. They've increased the DRS by zone by 75 meters, so there'll probably be more overtakes. I think it's second on overtakes last season. It's third on overtakes over the last 3 years during these regulations. It looks like a good opportunity for Limitless. If I didn't care about my budget, I would probably just go Limitless, to be completely honest. And anyone that's sat there unscathed from Australia, sure, go for Limitless. I think it's a good option. What else we got here? So, yep, taking Piastri, yep. Piastri is expected 39, doubling with DRS, yep. Behrman will start Sunday on minus points. He's dropping to 17th in the sprint. Yes, Tom, I agree with you. That is kind of, I don't know if you probably wrote that before or after what I said, but yeah, I do think Behrman's going to drop in the sprint. I would be surprised if he holds position. I would be very surprised if he gains any positions. Thoughts on from Martin. Verstappen 2 times. I mean, honestly, if I could justify going Verstappen 2 times, I would feel so safe and comfortable. It would be so nice and comfortable having Max Verstappen so 2 times. I'd love that option. But he's just so expensive, and the Red Bull just isn't quite there in terms of, I don't know, it's not quite there for me. Lawson's struggling with it, and that gives me some concern, although maybe that's just because he's struggling to adapt to the car and it's not really a reflection on Max Verstappen. But yeah, I do like the idea of Max Verstappen as 2 times, but it's just so expensive. I'd rather just go with Piastri. But anyway, Verstappen, Antonelli, Albon, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Williams and Haas on a wildcard. That is bold. So you're going without McLaren, Martin. You want my thoughts on that team? I would say that is very bold, going without McLaren. I think having some McLaren coverage on this sprint weekend when they look like they're once again the best car, I think it's bold. Let's put it that way. Glenn says Piastri was the only driver to start every race last year and never DNF. Yeah, again, Piastri's that nice safe option. He's a kind of similar sort of comfort blanket. He did almost lose it in Australia, skidding off through the grass. I did wonder if he was going to continue on into the barriers at one point and then kind of get stuck in the grass. And he took a minute to get out of there. But yeah, I do think that Piastri in general is quite a nice safe option as well. I think that's fine. Happy to take the risk and keep Williams, says CB883. Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm kind of looking at the moment. This is looking more and more like my wildcard team. In fact, let's plug this in to the team calculator to see how much it's kind of estimating it's going to go up. So we got that already done. We're going to go Piastri. We don't want Antonelli. We don't want Albon. Ocon. Stroll's in there. Tsunoda. Hulkenberg. Is that everyone? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's everyone. So 188. So yeah, look at the points. The points is definitely not there in comparison to this Ferrari Mercedes build. That does sadden me looking at the expected points here. That does sadden me. But then you're looking at this budget game, 2.2 million to dig yourself out of this hole. If I sit on this team, obviously I would go. I wouldn't go. Actually, let's if I load this up. Oh, I can't load it up. I can't get another team, can I? That's kind of annoying. But yeah, what I would do here is probably swap Doohan for Hulkenberg. So the price potential there would increase a little bit closer to 0, or maybe even potential price gain by a tiny fraction. It's an extra like 20, 30 points as well. Like, it's quite nice. I do genuinely think that my original team, my current team, if I flick it back for a second, this current team, I like it. If it wasn't for the budget situation, I'd probably go Doohan out, Hulkenberg in, considering he's starting so far back in the sprint. 0.1 in the bank. Let's go. Let's see the deadline through. This is how I'd probably play it last year, but because of the budget changes, because of the pricing change, because of how we're affected now, we have this 3-race average and assets are going to continue to just drop in budget. I'm not sure I can play this way. I think I have to adapt, and the adaptation this week comes as this potential wildcard. That takes into account the hits. So does it actually take into account the hits then? So if I hit the wildcard thing, it does. Good shout. Who's that man? Who is that man? Who said that? Tom. It's Tom. This is Tom in the chat speaking to Tom streaming. Thank you. I misread that completely. That's a really good point. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, actually the points potential is just straight up better, right? It's straight up better. And better budget. So yeah, now I suddenly feel a lot more comfortable. But when I saw that and I saw 180 points, that's actually not that great. Oh, I thought this team was really good. Oh, but actually, yeah, no, that's actually a lot more comforting knowing that the actual expected points is a lot better to my actual real life expectations, kind of match with the Sims. So that's actually quite nice to know that. So let's move it back to where I'm thinking. Then I'll try again to try and follow up some more stuff in the chat. I need McLaren on the left. I don't know what it is. I feel like I need my strong stuff on the left side over here. Williams, the weaker one, has to go on the right hand side. I don't know what it is. It's just how I like to sell my team. It's like people, when I see people have like they have their 2x driver like down here, and it's like, oh no, put him back on top, please, God, put him back on top. I don't like it. I don't know. Right, let's sort out this team. So Strolly boy, I can't have Stroll on top either. This is the thing, I've got to have my team set up real nice. Sonoda can go on top because I don't mind Sonoda there. Stroll, it pains me to put you back in the team. There's no way you're getting onto the top level here. You are not on the top level. But yeah, this is more or less where my thinking is at the moment. More or less. Let's have a look at the poll. How did that end up? Okay, quite a lot of people using chips then. 34% of people not using the chips. I wonder if you 34% just kind of came off Australia kind of unscathed with the budget, or are you just not caring about the budget and just want to go points? Yeah, interesting. Lots of people using the wildcard then. Let's see what you guys also think then about my situation. Oh, the caps lock, it will not leave me alone. Yeah, right, help me out. I'm currently leaning towards Sonoda by a small margin. I'd be interested to know what all you guys are thinking as well. So that's why I've put that poll up to see what you guys think. God, so many things going on here. Are you worried you'll be in trouble in Barcelona with wing? Oh my goodness, Barcelona is so far away. It's like 2 months away. 2 months away, man. I'm not worried about Barcelona. No, I'm not. I'm actually kind of looking forward to going to Barcelona. Actually, I'm going to be there, so quite excited about the Barcelona race. Haven't been to a Grand Prix since 2021 Silverstone, so it'd be cool to get out and about once more. Hajar on the left. Right, what are we doing here? Taking a -10 for the same team without chips. Yeah, if I could get to this without my... What am I actually doing here? If I wasn't wildcarding, it'd be -10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Am I really changing that many people? What? The only people I'm actually keeping are Ocon and Piastri, right? Yeah, from my original team. That's 100% a wildcard. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 points if I didn't wildcard. And it's frustrating as well because it was almost a coin toss between, if I flick it back to this team 1, what I've got on screen, and this team 2. I've already made transfers on my team 3. Albon's in for Sainz. What else I did? Doohan's out. Behrman's in over here. But yeah, my team 1 and my team 3 were like extremely close to what I was going to pick going into Australia. And if they both scored equally badly in Australia, but coming out the other side of it, I do kind of like this setup with the McLaren Williams Piastri build, kind of slightly more in terms of points gain as well as budget gain. This team I like, but the budget gain is just not there. Right, what else is going on? Michael has joined up in the chat. Everyone say hello to Michael. We like Michael. Hi guys, a bit late. Welcome. Let's see what else is going on. Sorry, just got here. Are you worried about Ferrari pace or more concerned about budget? Great job as always, bro. Thanks, Zach. A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Because again, this team on screen right now has got. I went with the Ferraris in Australia because I thought that what we're seeing this weekend is what we were going to see in Australia. I trusted the Ferraris to deliver in Australia. It looks like they're delivering a lot better this weekend. So yes, it does concern me moving away from this build. And I would like to have that kind of Leclerc-Hamilton coverage because they look good. But there's still question marks over them. I still think McLaren have got the edge. I still think, particularly in the race pace conditions, the McLaren have got it. But yes, 100% to answer your question just directly, yes, Ferrari do worry me a little bit, which is also another reason why I think Limitless users are in a great position here, because if you can afford to go Limitless, if you're not taking big budget losses, you go Limitless. When other people like myself are scrambling around trying to use the wild card to avoid budget loss, and you're just sat there, your underlying team budget is fine, you're going Limitless when other people like me are just unable to do it. I think it's a great opportunity for Limitless people, honestly. I don't think McLaren will be that good round here. I don't know. I mean, their straight line speed hasn't been particularly impressive, which does, maybe some cause concern in terms of can they overtake and how easy it will be if people line them up for an overtake. Can they defend particularly well? But, they've also just going to have really good tyre wear. Their tyre wear is such a strong asset in that McLaren. Yeah, I don't know. There are definitely question marks. Maybe McLaren don't look as strong as they did last week, but I still think they're going to be comfortably ahead of people. I think they're still going to be comfortably, 10th or 2 ahead, and that's kind of all we can really put our money on here. At the moment, when it's so close, being a 10th or 2 ahead is quite a big margin. What else we got going on in the chat? Eduardo, I entrust you with my fantasy. I follow you in every move. Well, I hope you didn't copy my Australia team, because we've not got off to a good start. So we're going to try and recover it. Like I say, potentially with this wildcard again. For anyone that's just joining the stream, I'll get my wildcard potential up here for you to all admire. Where are we? Williams. Sort this by value, because it's just confused me that it keeps changing out of that. Sonoda's there at the moment. Quite a lot, 75% now going for Sonoda. Stroll comes in, and Hulkenberg, who's going to get that prize rise. So yeah, this is my strongly leaning towards wildcard team at the moment. The Ferrari does look very stable and a very good race car over the McLaren, but setup changes after the race can mitigate this. Too risky to use a chip. Fair enough. Thoughts on 2 times Norris, Bortoletto, Albon, Hulk, Ocon, McLaren, Haas would be great for budget and probably points too. Yeah, the Haas worry me. I spoke about 20 minutes ago about the Haas Constructor, and I'm just like, yeah, it looks pretty good for budget and does enable you to pump up your other drivers a little bit, but doesn't particularly excite me. The Haas concern me with their race pace. I don't mind Ocon in there as a little bit of coverage for them, but in general, Yeah, Behrman kind of worries me too, Elliot. Albon and Behrman or Sonoda and Stroll. I mean, look what I got on the screen. Do you see Albon and Behrman, or do you see Sonoda and Stroll? That's your answer from my perspective right now. I'm on Tsunoda and Stroll. No Albon, no. There is no Albon. I mean, technically there's Albon because Williams are my constructor. And I can't really. I mean, how else am I going to afford it? If I want to go Albon, I have to make sacrifices elsewhere. Okay, so I get Albon, who's looking pretty set for this rise. But then what? I've got 5.7 left. I'm just going to guarantee myself a 0.6 loss. The whole reason of me wildcarding is to avoid these 0.6 losses. So it kind of defeats the objective. I just put a Bortoletto back in here so I can get Albon. Like, my price gain potential is not great. I mean, what else can I do? I can't really do much else. Behrman, 7.1. Again, I can't get to anyone. I have to take a number 0.6. That's kind of the reason why Albon is not in here for me, because of my budget. Have you considered Antonelli and Albon over Piastri and Tsunoda? Yeah, I did talk about Antonelli earlier, and my general thinking at the moment is I'm not sure he is worth the points you're giving up for someone like a Piastri as a 2 times, for the extra, effectively 0.3 gain that you're getting from Antonelli. Like, you get, okay, what do you get if you go Antonelli? You get an extra 3.7 million, which you can use to upgrade maybe like a Stroll up to an Albon or something. I don't know. You can do what you want with that money. So Antonelli's good. You get a bit of extra cash. You get a very, very likely 0.6 rise. The point potential isn't spectacular. You compare it to Piastri, who I think is, I'd say, very likely, to be honest, to get that 0.3 rise. Again, I referred to F1 Fantasy Tools budget builder earlier. We look at what Piastri needs. He needs 18 points to get up to 0.3 rise. I think in a sprint weekend, as long as he doesn't DNF, he's near enough guaranteed those 18 points, right? All he needs to do is qualify, get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points for qualifying, and then just like finish the race, and he just gets a 0.3 rise. So he's only going to get 0.3 less than Antonelli. He's probably going to score, his expected points. Again, I'm not going completely off the sims, but it's good reference to use. His expected points, 39.1, Antonelli 18. It's more than double. On a sprint weekend, just the comfortable like feeling of having Piastri as 2 times, I think it outweighs what I was thinking earlier on in the week with the Antonelli build. Let's just put Antonelli back in there for the time being. Let's see what it would look like, because it does look quite nice when you go down this road. I guess probably an Ocon in here. I think this is the team I had on my team selection Monday, whenever it was I posted it. And again, I think it looks nice. The sims don't really support it in terms of points. Quite a deficit to the Piastri build. In terms of budget gain potential, if you're purely just trying to gain budget and you don't really care about the points, this is the team to go for, because it covers McLaren's, which is the best constructor. Pretty clear. They're going to get lots of points. Sprint weekend, they could score 80, 90, 100 plus points fairly comfortably. It gets Williams in there, who is nice sort of half-price constructor that are going to get you a few points. And then you've got all these guys that are just going to gain money. Ocon, small question mark whether he's going to get that 0.6, but I think he's got a very good chance of it. Then you just got everyone else who's going to get 0.6. So you're pretty much set on like a massive boon in your budget. Is that worth the points you're giving up, Michael? I'm not sure. Shouldn't you be talking a bit quieter? That kid of yours isn't up. No, they are asleep, but I've got 2 of them actually, but they're actually really good. I'm a very lucky parent. Once they're asleep, like at this time of night, it's like 9:45, they stay sleeping. Like, I'm sorry to make all the other parents out there that have children that keep up at night, but my kids are really good. But yeah, hopefully I'm not speaking too loud. I don't know, if I speak too quietly, then people call it like ASMR, and it's like, oh, the whisperer, the fantasy whisperer. But yeah, so I'm just gonna talk how I talk. If you don't like it, then I can move the mic away a bit if you want. But yeah, right. Ben says good luck, good night. Yeah, because the deadline is just over 5 hours away now. Let's have a look. 5 hours 16 minutes over here. Yeah. What else we got? What about Alonso for Stroll? Nope, not for me, because Alonso is probably going to lose another 0.6. He's sat here on minus 20. Again, let's go back to the budget thing over here. Alonso, to get a 0.6 rise, he needs to score 30 points this weekend. That is hugely unlikely, whereas Stroll can get away with a -5 and he's going to go up. Like, the fact that Stroll is just near enough guarantee. No, as long as Stroll doesn't DNF, then Stroll's going to go up 0.6. Alonso needs to do something phenomenal to get away from a 0.6 drop. So for me, Stroll versus Alonso is an easy pickings. Right. Points come later in the season, says Hero Tommy. Yeah, points do come later in the season, but they also come now. We can't just completely give up. I mean, you can completely give up. You can go with this team, just be like, oh, I'm just going to put this team in, I'm going to get my budget, I'm just going to close my eyes to the points, and kind of be happy with that. If you're happy to just kind of give up on the points, and I'm not saying this team's going to do terribly and it's going to get you no points. It will do okay. It's got the McLaren constructor. Antonelli should score, maybe 20 points plus. Albon 10-15 points. It's going to score you okay points. It's not like it's terrible, and it's going to get you a really good budget. This is why I've got it on screen right now. This is why I talked about it extensively in my team selection video. I don't think this is a bad option. I just right this moment prefer the Piastri build. So I'm not arguing with you. I do think that this is a good build, and if you want to go with it, absolutely go for it. I might. There is even a small chance I still end up going with this if I do decide to go full budget building. Yeah, but for me, I think the Piastri build is it's alluring, and the price gain. I mean, what is the difference here? Really, is Piastri and Tsunoda. That's literally the only difference, isn't it? It's Piastri versus Antonelli, so the difference there is 0.3 million, and then Tsunoda versus Albon. Albon's pretty much guaranteed a 0.6. Tsunoda has a fairly reasonable chance of 0.6. I'd say he's got a very good chance of a 0.2 and a decent chance of 0.6. So ultimately, if I go Albon plus Antonelli, I'm giving up on likely 30-40 points or whatever, because Piastri is not my 2 times, and I'm gaining an extra 0.3, maybe 0.6, something like that, most likely. Right now, I'm just not sure it's worth it. It looks great having, plus 0.6 all over your team, but is that difference between Piastri and Tsunoda worth it? Antonelli versus Albon. What would you go for on Limitless? Yeah. Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't put a lot of thought into it because I'm not going down that road. If I was going down that road, though, it would definitely be triple McLaren. I think it would be triple Ferrari as well, and Max Verstappen. I wouldn't go Red Bull Constructor because Liam Lawson looks kind of off it. I mean, Liam might get a few overtakes and positions gained in the sprint because he's starting at the back, so that's a reasonable option if you want to go Red Bull Constructor. But I think Ferrari just, the fact that Hamilton's, starting on pole for the sprint, he's looking strong. Ferrari just in general looks much better this weekend. I think my Limitless build would probably be triple McLaren, triple Ferrari, and Max Verstappen. As for the 2 times, if I was going Limitless, it'd be kind of close between Piastri and Norris, I think. I think I'd definitely still go for them. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be quite close because I think Piastri's got a better chance of winning the sprint. I think Norris is, if McLaren truly have the pace, then Norris could come through to P2, P1. But I think I don't know. I'm not sure. I think he's going to have a bit of a tough time. If he doesn't get off to a good start, I think Norris, he might not get through those few drivers ahead of him in the sprint. I think Piastri's got a much more genuine chance of winning the sprint, even though it's only worth like an extra couple of points effectively, but still. And Piastri's just looking strong. But yeah, I don't know, maybe Norris for, if Norris put his qualifying lap back together, then maybe he'd be on competing for pole with Hamilton. He'd be right up there, and that's what we might see come qualifying in the Grand Prix. So maybe Norris. But yeah, to answer your question in a very long-winded way, basically triple McLaren, triple Ferrari, Max Verstappen. It's tough because we're splitting hairs, says Hero Tommy. Yeah, this is the thing. We were splitting hairs going into Australia. This is the problem I find with the game this year, is that the decisions are very, very close. They're very close, almost coin tosses. Sometimes you can go with one variation of the team to another, but the outcomes are not that close. They're wide open. You get some people, from one small decision in the team gets an extra 40 points in you because you've got unlucky with a DNF or whatever. Like that huge variation is something that kind of gripes me a bit with the game, but is what it is, I suppose. Right, what else we got going on here? What do you think about starting this weekend with a -20? To be honest, if I was going -20, I'd probably just wildcard. Like, if I look back at the last 2 seasons, last season I took used the wildcard to avoid either -10 or -20. I can't remember which. It was -10 or -20 I avoided with the wildcard. And then the season before that, it was the cost for extra transfers was only 4 points, and I actually used the wildcard to save myself 4 points because it was towards the end of the season. So I've got quite a low threshold for activating the wildcard. If I'm spending 20 points to change my team around, I might as well just wildcard. I don't know if there's going to be an opportunity down the line that I want to change that much in my team again. There probably will, given the fact that the DNFs and the team values playing such a big part this year. So, if you're happy enough to take a -20, then save the wildcard for, if another triple DNF comes down the line, then you'll be happy you've got the wildcard. Or, if someone like a Williams suddenly puts on a massive upgrade and they're suddenly competing for podiums and you need to go triple Williams, then you might want to wildcard into something like that. But yeah, in general, I've got a low threshold for wildcarding. This team on screen at the moment is going to cost me -50, so I'm 100% using the wildcard if I go with this. But yeah, my threshold's quite low. If I would take a -10. I'd be kind of fine with it. But if I'm going -20 and beyond, I'd probably be wildcarding. Ethan says, thank you for your help. No worries. I'm thinking Norris 2 times on my Limitless, but it's interesting hearing your insight on the Piastri shout. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not going Limitless, I think I just prefer Piastri at the moment, because I think he's got just as good a chance as Norris in any given weekend, really. I think in general, on average, Norris is just that tiny, tiny bit ahead of him in terms of how good a driver he is. And just gives me a slightly more confidence being Norris, but going paying an extra 7 million for it, it's just not worth it. The points potential, the points per million there is just not there. Piastri is just way, way cheaper and has the same sort of potential that Norris has. And like I say, in the sprint, I think Piastri just has a pretty great shout at just winning the sprint. If he gets a good start, he can jump. Some make it sound like, he can just jump Verstappen and Hamilton. It'll be easy. Just jump 2 of the best drivers ever. But no, I do think if Piastri can get, a reasonable start, or even if he doesn't, I think he might have the tyre wear to just overtake towards the end of the sprint, perhaps. What do you think about the Williams suffering a penalty? Yeah, I have discussed the Williams potential penalty already. We don't know about it. I don't know if any news is coming out. Have a quick look over on Twitter. Oh, there we go. Williams are due to see the stewards at midnight UK time. So in about 2.5 hours, Williams are due to go and see the stewards. That's the latest I've just seen over on Twitter. So we'll get some more information then, I suppose, about what's going on. That's kind of annoying. I was kind of hoping to go to bed before then. Damn, I might have to stay up super late tonight just to try and find out what's going on with Williams, because if it is going to affect our team, it is a concern going down this route. Like I say, my backup plan, if Williams are going to get moved about, is to potentially go down the Haas route. I just really don't want to go down there. I think the likelihood is, even if Williams get disqualified, it shouldn't affect our fantasy teams negatively. It's hard to tell with these developers, but I think what's more likely to happen is that they might just start at the back for the sprint, which is actually great for our fantasy teams. So it makes it even more appealing. But because we don't know of any certainty what's going to happen as yet and how it's going to affect our teams, there is that question mark over Williams for sure, but I still like them. It's a blessing to keep Williams if they get a disqualification. I think so. It's hard to know, but because what's happened, I think it happened after FP1, right? It related to FP1, so they might get disqualified for the next competitive session, which was sprint qualifying, as a result of not submitting this camera footage. It's so bizarre. The rules in F1 are so bizarre. There's so many weird, nitty-gritty regulations that the teams have to keep abide to. I generally don't know how teams aren't getting penalties every single week and getting disqualified every single week. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, my feeling is that if Williams do get disqualified for whatever reason from the sprint qualifying, the likelihood is, I would imagine, is that they are going to start at the back, and that is very good for our fantasy teams. I don't think it would affect us in terms of point scoring. Where's the game rules? Let's have a look at the disqualification, see if we can glean any more information. Disqualification penalty points are for being disqualified will now be applied to the constructor instead of the driver. So that's what I'm saying. If you're going like Albon, you should be fairly safe from disqualifications here. Disqualified drivers will not gain any points for the session. Yeah, that's fine. So qualifying sprint. It doesn't actually say anything in here, does it? There's nothing about disqualified from sprint qualifying, right? Like disqualified here. It's also only -5 here. It used to be -15 last year. So disqualified from qualifying. This is not sprint qualifying. This is qualifying. Is a -5. So actually, even if they did get hit with a -5, that's not terrible considering they'll probably be starting at the back. And right, it's not terrible. So I feel like even if worst case scenario they get penalised in fantasy for getting DQ'd, you know, a probable -5 is not the worst thing in the world for a long-term hold in Williams. Sprint. So yeah, disqualified from the actual sprint is -20. I guess the other sort of concern is why did they not submit this footage, this camera footage, whatever it was? Have they got something going on? Is there something with the whole like flexi rear wing or whatever it is going on? Are they trying to hide something? I don't know. There is that sort of question mark. Could we get further into the weekend and then we see an actual like major disqualification and we're slapped with a -20? That's a concern. I think in general though, I'm not overly worried about it. But yeah, I will be paying attention to what goes on once they've seen the stewards for sure. Right, what's going on? Race pace worries for Ferrari. Yeah, I did touch on that a little bit earlier. Yes, if I go with this whole wildcard team, if I drop Ferrari and go down the road of McLaren, Williams, how many times have I brought this team up, man? I need to keep it up. Sort by team value. Come on, game. Just get this wildcard team back in here. There we go. There's the wildcard team. What I'm looking at the moment. Am I concerned about Ferrari if I go with this team? 100%. 100%. And like I've said earlier on the stream, if I wasn't hit so horribly by the negative budget modifiers from Australia, you know, suffering with 3 people dropping 0.6, if I don't drop them off for alternatives, I'm going to lose like 1.8 million this week, which is why I'm looking at using the wild card and moving to a team like this. But yeah, I do think that the team I had originally right here is still fine. If I didn't have to suffer these 3 guys losing me more value, this kind of team structure is still fine. I think it's going to score decent points, and the Ferraris look good, even if their race pace doesn't look quite as good as McLaren's, although people in the chat are saying otherwise. But yeah, to answer the question, Ferrari race pace, yeah, it does concern me. It does concern me, but probably not enough to kind of jump ship and change my entire team. Rob's in the chat. Hey Rob, how you doing? I think it's best case scenario if Williams get disqualified from sprint quality. Yeah. I don't know if you caught what I just said. I don't know when you joined the stream, but yeah, I think if Williams get disqualified, then having them as our constructor is great. Like if they get disqualified from sprint quali, obviously. If they get disqualified from any other session, like the actual sprint race or did not want to kick Sauber in it. If they get disqualified from any other session, then we're going to get hit with some big negative points. But I think, as Rob says, we should be kind of golden. Oh no, we don't want you up there. I need the right setup. Tsunoda's going up there. My God, Strolly boy, get in there. Hulkenberg, get in there. Yep, here we go. Back to the wildcard team. Yes. I've completely lost my train of thought. Let's have a look at the chat. Let's look at this poll as well. What was the final kind of outcome here? I'll leave it for like another minute or so for anyone that hasn't voted. It looks like Tsunoda's going to get the nod here. And again, he's kind of... I don't know if I've biased this poll just by talking him up, but I do think that he is just a slightly better option longer term and still has a reasonable chance of gaining that budget. Tamarin says I don't know... I don't recognise the name. Sorry. To be honest, I'm probably just like left, right, centre, just offending everyone by butchering people's names. I'm really sorry. Probably just get a fine. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. That'd be a killer after Australia. Yeah, if they got disqualified. Did not submit on time. Yeah. Best team of 100.5 million. Probably something like what I've got in my team too. I'm not sure how much money I've actually got in here. Let's have a look. I have to click on all this. 100.3. Yeah, so I'm only like a tiny fraction off what you recommended there. So yeah, my team 2 is what I've done with that budget basically, and I like it. Yeah, just going with this kind of build and just kind of sucking up the budget losses here from Hadron Bortoletto. It's my team 2, so I'm not overly fussed what goes on. I think I might as well just try and capitalise on the big constructors with a strong 2x driver on a sprint weekend and just shrug off the losses here. I'm not that fussed. But my team 1, I am more fussed, which is why I'm looking at the wild card. Like I say, anyone that's joining kind of late, the other option is kind of switch out, go Hulkenberg and just maintain this team if I think Ferrari generally look that good. Maybe this is the weekend where Norris struggles. He hasn't looked super great in a couple of moments today, so maybe this is a good opportunity to just kind of stick with this team. I know Rob, who's joined the chat, you're sat with a team similar to this, and you've got the likes of Stroll and Hulkenberg kind of already in your team. So if I were you, I think it's definitely an option to like stay. You know, if I could get Stroll in here, and stick with a team like this, then I think it actually looks kind of decent. So I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know what you're thinking, Rob, but I wouldn't be surprised if you stay with a team like this. It would be kind of interesting to get your thoughts as to whether you are actually wildcarding or not, or sticking with that kind of structure. But yeah. Yeah. What else we got in here? Big Boss play around. Yep. Oh yeah, that's another good point. Anyone who wants to check what they've got here, they can just put in manual. Oh, what is this? So we clear this. Oh, what is this? I've got. Oh, this is too much. This is too complicated. But you can fill about in here. You can change your budget and stuff. You can manually change your budget in F1 Fantasy Tour. I'm not going to go through it because it's just embarrassing me trying to work out how to do it on screen. But you can like manually add in your budget and get like the optimal teams according to the simulations if you want to do that. Right, what else have we got going on? Norris, Albon, Antonelli, and or I think that's Piastri passed. Piastri, Tsunoda, Ocon, McLaren, Norris. Well, I mean, Chris, I think I like the second option with the Piastri, Tsunoda, Ocon, McLaren, which is kind of why I'm again keeps flicking between these two teams, but kind of why I'm looking at dismantling my entire race week 1 team to go down this road. How long we got to the deadline now? Oh, less than 5 hours. Not long to go. Oh my god, I hate that this keeps sorting it by season points. I want it by value. I know where everyone is on the value. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of where I'm headed. Again, I said it earlier on in the stream. I'm not overly excited. I'm not overly excited by this team. I think it's fine. I think it's decent. Something about it just doesn't quite excite me. I think it's probably the fact that I'm using my wildcard and shifted into this structure because of the points, because of the budget devastation from Australia. I feel a little bit pushed to, a bit forced into making these moves, as opposed to wildcarding into, I really want to change my team because so-and-so is looking really good and I want to get triple up on such and such team. That's how I played it in the past, but this season the game's just straight up different, and getting these losses in our team is painful, so that's why I'm kind of shifting this way. What else is going on? Would you use wildcard if having the Piastri plus 4 negatives or 3 changes and take the minus 10? Yeah, I'd probably take the minus 10. If you can avoid that big budget loss, I think it's probably worth a minus 10 to avoid losing like another 1.8 million. Like, I think 10 points is definitely expendable if you can save yourself like $1 million or 2 in budget. What does the sim say for Tsunoda versus Behrman? Asks Max. I think. Where are we? Let's have a look. Where is Tsunoda? So Tsunoda expected points. I'm not sure. Can you see this? Yeah, you should be able to see it. Tsunoda expected points is 3.2. Not particularly exciting, is it? And Behrman expected points 7.1. I'm surprised by that. Is that right? Why is Behrman expecting I'm kind of confused. I'm trying to genuinely think, why is Behrman got expected points of 7.1? And why is Snowder only 3.2? I'm kind of surprised to see that, to be honest. I mean, the Sims don't lie, though. The Sims are pretty accurate. But yeah, I'm surprised Snowder's quite so low down. Maybe, I mean, he's starting in a bit of an awkward position for the sprint. So there's a chance he might drop a couple of positions or something, and then he is, on the back foot going into qualifying and the Grand Prix. So maybe that's why the Sims are not hot on him. But then Behrman's only a couple of spots behind him, effectively. And the race pace that the Has is showing, I am kind of surprised by those expected points, to be honest. What else we got going on there? Oh my goodness! As soon as I scroll down, the chat has gone like mental. What else we got? I was torn between the two options. Yeah, what about swap McLaren with Ferrari and Tsunoda with Albon? Are you suggesting this as my... I'm going to lose this team again. So I've got this team. Where is this chap? So swap McLaren, Ferrari, Tsunoda. Oh, wait. No, I think you were talking about a different team. Sorry. This is the problem with trying to catch up with chat, is that I've completely missed what you were actually talking about. I'm sorry. Let me just chuck it back to the wildcard team for now. Like I say, Tsunoda's in here at the moment. It could be a Behrman, but I'm not particularly excited about going double Has. And I think Tsunoda longer term is a better option. I'm not just looking at these sims and thinking, oh look, Behrman 7.1, better chance of price rise. And when I say budget, better chance of price rise, there's not that much of a better chance. Tsunoda needs 11 points to the big rise. Behrman needs 6. It's not that big a differential between the two. And I think longer term, I feel more comfortable with Tsunoda. I think the main thing is avoiding DNFs this season. Yeah, Shane says the main thing is avoiding DNFs. Well, let me tell you, Shane, that has been the case for the last 2 years, and it's only got worse this season. The reason for that being that, last year, if you had like a Hulkenberg or a Tsunoda or whatever, they catch a DNF, you get hit by minus 20. That bit hasn't changed this season. The problem is the budget. So last year, you would lose like 0.2 million for getting hit by DNF, and then the next race you can just move on with your life and make your picks based on performance. Now we're sat here with this 3-race average, meaning that anyone that DNFs, not only do they lose 3 times the amount they lost last season, but they're also going to lose that for the next 2 races as well, unless some miracle happens. So last season, minus 20 DNF, minus 0.2. Fine, move on, carry on. This season, minus 20 for the DNF, minus 0.6, minus 0.6, minus 0.6, using transfers to avoid them, using chips like I'm doing right now, using wildcard to avoid them. Like the price changes are so brutal, which is why I've been putting the memes out on Twitter, kind of criticizing the developers, because it's rough. I don't want to sit here and rant about it unless you really want me to rant, because believe me, I can rant about it. But yeah, I think certainly avoiding DNFs even more important this year because of these heavy penalties we're paying, not just in points but also in budget and transfers being booked in. Tom says, yeah, expected points is bullshit. Yeah, I don't know where that's come from in the Sims. Considering Yuki could be a good pick in Japan too. Oh, that's a good shout. Home race coming right up for Yuki. Would you consider him over Stroll? I'm putting them both in my team. If I had to pick between them, I don't like having Stroll in my team ever. Okay, I don't ever like having him because he's capable of something stupid and just get a DNF. That's just Stroll. But in terms of budget gain right now and for the next couple of races, he's in a much stronger position than what Tsunoda is. Tsunoda's starting from scratch. He's sat here on 0 points. Lance Stroll got 16 points in Australia. He's in a great position. He's got a really strong average and a good baseline to set him up for the next 2 races to just keep gaining value. So if I had to pick between them, I'd probably go Stroll. He's very fractionally cheaper and just has a much better chance of just continually increasing price. There is that DNF factor, but then anyone can DNF at the end of the day, I guess. Anyone can do it. Right, Michael. So maybe I should just take a minus 10, save the wild card, considering how wild the season is. I can get rid of the poison pills. Yeah, I think, Michael, you went with the McLaren Williams build, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, anyone that's gone with the kind of Piastri McLaren Williams build can probably avoid having to go down this route wildcarding. If you can get away with -10, then I'd probably go down that route. Let's look at the other options for me, okay? If I don't want a wildcard, I want to keep this team structure. It's literally drop out one of the guys that's going to drop, bring in Hülkenberg. That negates some of the budget loss, but I'm still sat here losing 1.2 million. Is that sitting here losing 1.2 million from Bortoleto and Hadjar enough to trigger me to fire off the wildcard? Yeah, that's why I've sat here for the last hour talking about it. So I don't want to lose any more budget, which is why I'm strongly considering moving off this build, which is kind of upsetting because I put a lot of thought into that Team 1 build for Australia, and I did really like what it was doing. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit upsetting that I have to kind of jump off it to save that value. But again, another repercussion of what the developers have done, isn't it? Because budget is very important throughout the season, and it gets kind of compounded towards the end of the season. If you're not aware of it early in the season, you'll pay the price later. And the way it works this season, like as I've just said a couple of minutes ago, it's super painful with the DNFs and the budget loss. What are we going on? What are we going on? Oh, the chat's going crazy. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try and do speed. All right, we're going to do speed chat. Speed chat. I'm going to try and whiz through and answer as many questions as I can. Let's go. Williams DQ is good, right? Positions gained in sprint in the points. I think so. I think Williams DQ, if it's from sprint quali, should be good for us if we're going Williams. Thoughts on switching McLaren, Tsunoda to Ferrari and Albon? No. My thoughts are no. McLaren, Ferrari do look strong. 100% they look strong. They look a lot better in Australia. I still think McLaren are edging them. So I think I prefer it. I mean, let's have a look at what it looks like. So much for the speed round. I'm going to immediately get held up on the second question. So you're talking about McLaren, Tsunoda, and bringing in Ferrari and Albon. Is that what you're saying? I don't think I can afford Albon. I'm 0.1 short. I'd have to bring him in and then go down to like a Behrman, I think. Yeah, I think I'd have to go down this road for me personally, but if you can afford Ocon, I prefer it. Yeah, it just makes me very uneasy going out without McLaren. It makes me very uneasy going without McLaren. Simple as. Ferrari certainly look better. They certainly look stronger. They are a bit of a concern. But until we see some actual real proof and evidence that they are, parallel to McLaren or better than McLaren, I want to pile in on McLaren. So there's your answer. Eduardo, I was talking about this, the wildcard team. Oh, swap McLaren for Ferrari and Tsunoda for... Oh, right, that's exactly what I've just answered from the question above. So yeah, Eduardo, I'm still leaning towards this way. If you want to go Ferrari, Albon, I don't see a problem with that. But me personally, I'd rather go McLaren. Behrman's going to drop positions. Yeah, I don't think he's a particularly bad driver, but I think he's still very likely to drop positions. Andres, Eduardo Gonzalez, Sanabria, what a name, love it. What's your opinion about Aston Martin versus McLaren? What's your? I'm not sure. I'm sure I understand. So Aston Martin versus McLaren, or do you mean like Aston Martin to pair with McLaren? Because that's a strange question otherwise. I don't like it personally because I think Aston Martin are going to struggle to get that price game because of the Alonso DNF. I mean, Stroll's bulked it up, so they're on 1 point, and there's an okay chance of them getting the price rise. But I'm not sure about Aston Martins. I'm probably not going down there. Oh god, chat's just moved. When are you locking it in? I probably won't actually lock anything in until we get a little bit of news about the Williams DQ, which is happening. Apparently they're seeing the stewards at 12:30 UK time, so in about 2 hours, just over 2 hours time, Williams should be seeing the stewards. So I'll lock it in once we get news and confirmation, just to see if that does affect the team at all. But yeah, this is kind of where my head's at the moment. TR The Flash. Sadly, I feel like most engaged players will have the same teams depending on results from Australia. Not a lot of diversity. Yeah. Again, kind of a repercussion of these big negative budget losses that are going to really compound as the weeks go by. If we don't react to the budget losses, then yeah, you're right. We're gonna suffer, and because of that, we're kind of converging on similar build. Lots of people go in these McLaren Williams builds. Because they're quite good, they're a cheaper option basically. Basically, McLaren plus Williams is a cheaper option than Ferrari plus Mercedes, so you can bulk out, you can avoid the Bortolettos, your Hadjars, your Doohans, and you can get these guys that are going to gain their budget. So yeah, as a result of the developers' new pricing system, we are going to see perhaps some convergence and some sort of template forming with this orange and blue teams forming. That is certainly a thing. Freak says, do we have one wildcard per season? Yes, it does not reset. You get one use of each chip for the season. Lewis says, Ferrari or McLaren? McLaren for me in isolation, and probably not in isolation as well. Stroll often qualifies badly, which is good. This is true. Stroll has never been a strong qualifier. He has gone out in Q1 more times than I can remember. So yeah, Stroll is a reasonable option. He's just capable of doing something stupid. He's just capable of putting it in the wall. And yeah, I don't know. But I don't think it's bad bad option. And it looks like it's going to go up in price. So Glenn, sorry, my voice is starting to go now. This is like time to kill the stream, I think, because my voice is going. But I will soldier on and try and answer what's left of the chat. Glenn says, will he DNF though? That's my main priority now for Behrman. I think there's a higher chance of Tsunoda having a DNF. That's interesting. I'm surprised you say that, actually. I'm just interested to see what the Sims say. I think somewhere you can see the DNF percentage on here. Not that I paid too much attention to it, but it's kind of interesting. If we expand it, DNF odds 9% for Tsunoda. What is that for Behrman on here? 8%. Well, there you go. There's a 1% difference. Tsunoda is 1%, according to the Sims, more likely to get DNF than Behrman. But from my subjective, non-sim, non-mathematical brain going on here, I don't think there's really much in it, and I'd actually say I feel a bit more comfortable with Tsunoda personally. Yeah, just that more experience, just a bit more experience, a bit more comfortable. Yeah, not sure I agree with you, Glenn. Not sure. Right, let's try and whiz through some more stuff. Tsunoda or Ocon, one free transfer left. Interesting. Potentially Ocon, because he's starting quite far back. He's pretty decent for overtakes in the past. He's already got a few points on the board, so he's probably more likely than Tsunoda to go to get the price rise. So yeah, Tsunoda versus Ocon. If I had to split between them, I'd probably be going towards Ocon. Right, what else we got? McLaren has Norris, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Behrman, or McLaren, Williams, Piastri, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Behrman. I mean, yeah, the second team, Lucas Rodriguez, your second team is almost identical to what I got on screen at the moment. So that, hopefully that kind of answers your question there. Both have the same expected budget gain, but which would net the most points? Should I change Behrman for Tsunoda? Behrman versus Tsunoda is like the ultimate discussion point in this stream so far, I think. It's extremely tight. Behrman versus Tsunoda, extremely tight. The Sims favour Behrman kind of weirdly, like more than double the points of Tsunoda. I don't agree with that, but then the Sims are generally quite accurate. But yeah, I think it's kind of fishy. I'm currently going Tsunoda, but I think he's just, yeah, I just like him. And I think I'll be more comfortable with him over the next couple of races. Home race next up in Japan. Yeah, for me, Tsunoda's edging it, but it's close. It's certainly close. I wouldn't fault anyone going Behrman, but I do think he's potentially going to lose some positions in sprint. I'm locking up this team with the wild card. Good luck, y'all. Thanks, Tom, as always. I'll fall with you. Yeah, don't worry. There's always a violin for us coming in a week's time. Have a good night in Italy. We're a plus hour. Okay, yeah. Have a good couple of hours sleep, Eduardo. Damn, my Italian's rubbish. I know a few bits of Spanish, so I'm not going to embarrass you by speaking Spanish to you because I know it's similar to Italian, but it's not. So I'll just say good night. Good night, Eduardo. Piastri doing Hadjar, Hulkenberg, Ocon, and Mercedes and Ferrari, which is literally my current team except for Hulkenberg, yeah. But a 2 of minus 0.6 is going to hurt, but the points are good according to the sim at least. Yeah, so Krish, I agree. The points on the sim. This is the sim for my current team versus what I'm looking to wildcard into. Again, if I change this so it goes to wildcard, the points are almost identical. Like my current team is sat at is sat at 215 points. My wildcard team 218. There's almost nothing in it in terms of points. But then you look at the budget change, and I know I'll be swapping out Doohan for Hulkenberg, so that changes it slightly. In fact, where is that? Doohan out, Hulkenberg in. So if I did that, so the points potential goes down a couple of points. The budget gain is negligible. And the budget gain down here is superior. The expected points is slightly superior. This is kind of, again, I'm not basing my decisions off the sims. I use the sims to back up what I'm already thinking. And if the sims disagree with me, then it makes me rethink stuff sometimes. But I don't just go with the sims. I think that's quite boring. Kind of a boring way to play the game, to be honest. But yeah, I do like using the sims to see if it backs up what I'm thinking. I think this Ferrari Mercedes Piastri team is strong, 100%. But so is this team, and it's much more likely to get budget. So why wouldn't you go for it? That's kind of where I'm at right now. That's what I'm thinking. What we doing? Currently have Piastri, Ocon, Doohan. Hadjar, Bortoleto, Ferrari, Mercedes. I think I'm doing Piastri, Doohan, Hadjar to Kimi, Stroll, Hulkenberg. Yeah, I did speak about Kimi earlier. I'm personally not convinced that it's worth the extra 0.3 game that you'll get from him over Piastri for the points that Piastri should offer. What's the penalties for Williams get disqualified? Well, if they get disqualified from sprint quali, we shouldn't be penalised in our teams because there's no points on offer for sprint qualifying. There's nothing in the rules about sprint qualifying, basically. So if they get disqualified from it, it shouldn't impact our teams. All that's hopefully going to happen is they start at the back for the sprint race, and all of us that own Williams are laughing because we get positions gained, overtakes. We're not in the main fray going around that tight turn 1, turn 2. If they're starting at the back, they're a lot safer from the meat grinder on lap 1. Like, if they get disqualified from sprint qualifying, I think it's going to be a good thing. Michael, thanks, Tom. Let there be no violins this Sunday. Yeah, I think there's going to be quite a lot of violins this year, given the budget losses as well. It's going to be pretty brutal. Dennis, thoughts on Piastri 2 times? Kimi, Albon, Stroll, Hulk, Mercedes, and Sauber. Wow, we're going down to the Saubers. That is something else. Let's just put that team in there for now. Let me just get rid of everyone, just so I can visualize what this looks like. Let's put Sauber in there. Where is it? I've lost the message. I've literally lost the message. Oh my god, the chat has just moved, and I'm completely lost as to where the team was. I'm sorry. I was going to put the team in. I've literally completely lost it. The chat has just like automatically scrolled down on my screen, on my other screen, and I'm sorry, I've lost it. But my thinking, I can give you my brief opinion on Kick Sauber, and that is, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. They got boosted up nicely by Hulkenberg, so the points potential, we look at the budget builder. Point potential for them isn't too bad. If we go down here, they only need 4 points. That's like, this point scoring system is mental. They need 4 points to go up the maximum amount. Oh, that's actually really good, and they are a good budget enabler. Points potential though, the points potential of the Sauber constructor is in the drain somewhere. I'd much rather go with someone like Williams, who are capable of just a bit more capable, a bit more safe, I think. Sorry, but I've completely lost that message. I think it was it Kimi, Piastri, Sauber. I don't know why you're going down to Sauber personally. Like, I'm not sure why you're going down there. And again, Kimi, I'd rather just have a stronger constructor. We mustn't lose sight of the fact the point scoring system in this game has been tweaked slightly, but it largely is the same for the previous 2 years. It favours constructors. The constructors score big points. Let's not lose sight of that in this budget mayhem. This is the reason why I went with this team in week 1, because I wanted 2 of the biggest constructors I could get. That's why I went with this team. The budget impact has really nailed me to the door here, which is why I'm looking at wildcarding away from this team. And I think McLaren being the best constructor can hopefully outweigh what Ferrari and Mercedes can produce this weekend. I Like I say, I'm not overly excited in terms of points potential moving into this team structure, but I think it's important not to lose sight that the constructors do score you a lot of points, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. Is what I'm trying to say. Let's bring all these guys. Oh, God's sake, team value. I'm having an absolute nightmare trying to swell this team. Let's bring it back to the wildcard so anyone joining the stream can see kind of where I'm at the moment, and I'll continue looking at the chat. But I will. Oh my God, it's nearly 10:30. Yeah, I probably will wrap it up soon because otherwise I'm just going to go straight through to 3 o'clock here. Another 4 hours, 4.5 hours to the deadline. Right. I will go through. If you've got any more questions, then please do put them in chat. And whilst you're here, hit subscribe because I'll be back for Japan. We've got a nice little week off for Japan, right? We've got a couple of weeks until the next race, I think. Oh my God, now I'm suddenly panicking. Is it the next race? No, I think we've got a week off. I'll probably take a few days off in terms of YouTube content so my brain can rest. And then I'll be back for Japan team selection. Do feel free to subscribe if you like what you see. Let's have a look more at the chat, see what's going on. God, there's just loads of people are just like launching team suggestions at me. The Williams DQ keeps coming up. I feel like a bit of a broken record for anyone that stayed in the stream for the duration so far. I apologise, but I will for the last time this evening because I'm going to wrap up this stream soon. For anyone that's joined recently, let me talk about Williams. Let me have a quick drink because I'm going to need some water for this. Okay, the situation is Williams. In about 2 hours' time, they're going to see the stewards. Based on that meeting, we will find out if there's any repercussions for them not submitting this footage that they were supposed to submit in this timely fashion after FP1. We'll find out if there's any repercussion for the Williams team. That could become as a fine, a slap on the wrist, no action. It could be as severe as disqualification. People are worried that disqualification is going to hurt their teams. I'm worried to a small extent that might happen. I think what's more likely to happen is if they do get disqualified, they'll get disqualified for the sprint quali, where no points are on offer in fantasy. Therefore, we shouldn't be getting any negative points in fantasy. If they get disqualified from sprint quali, I'd imagine they then start at the back for the sprint race. That is good for our teams. They start on 0 points, same as everyone else, no negative points. They'll start at the back of the grid. They're not in the meat grinder for turn 1, turn 2. They can get positions gained because they've got better race pace than the cars around them. Get a few overtakes. I think that it's potentially very good if Williams get DQ'd from the sprint quali. But we'll find out in a couple of hours. So that's my stance right now. I'm not saying that with any certainty, but that's what I believe could happen and is, I don't know, likely to happen. I don't know. I don't know the FIA's rules and regulations inside out whatsoever. We'll see what happens in a couple of hours, see what comes out of it. If they get disqualified, I think it'll be good because they'll start at the back for the sprint. It should be good for us if we're going Williams. Right. Let's see what else we got. Could Williams be kicked out of the whole GP? Again, I think that's a very small chance of them getting disqualified through the whole weekend. It would be quite hilarious if it happened, and I would be playing a long old violin video if it did happen. I think it's annoying that there's these question marks over the Williams because I think that otherwise they're like a fine option. If their car's like illegal and they can't change it for whatever reason, will they get DQ'd throughout the weekend? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. All that's actually happened is they haven't released some footage in a timely fashion from some cameras. Whether that means they're trying to hide something, maybe there was some flexing of their rear wing, which has been in the news a lot in the last week. That's a possibility. Is it flexing too much? Is that going to lead to a DQ from the Grand Prix or something? It's certainly a concern, but I would say it's a small concern for me right now. Right. I'll go for the last few questions. Let's end this thing. Looks like Sonoda just about got the nod ahead of Behrman, 61 to 38. I'm not sure how YouTube ends up rounding these things. Can they not round a poll with two options to get to 100%? The only options are Sonoda and Behrman. Come on, 61 and 38 is 99%. Come on, YouTube, sort it out. All right, let me kind of go over my kind of final thoughts, where I'm at, where I'm going. Let's kind of summarize, because I've been talking for an hour and a half now. Let me try and summarize where I'm at. Team 2, already made transfers. Team 3, already made transfers. Team 1, not made transfers. This is my team from Australia. This is my summary of where I'm at and where I'm going with 4.5 hours to the deadline. This is my team. I think it's a strong team. However, the DNFs hit me hard in Australia. Therefore, I've lost 0.6 from Bortoleto, 0.6 from Doohan, 0.6 from Hadjar. The way the new scoring system works, if I do not move those guys on, there is a high degree of certainty that once again, those three assets are going to lose me another 0.6 each. So they have already lost me 1.8 between them. If I keep them, they're going to lose me another 1.8. And that will likely, barring any exceptional performance, that will likely carry on into Japan as well. That'll be another 1.8. My budget is going to get obliterated unless I move off these assets. Therefore, I have a couple of options. I can just move Doohan and bring in Hulkenberg to give me the price rise, because Hulkenberg's very likely to get that price rise. I can suck up the Bortoleto Hadjar price loss of 1.2 million. Try and balance it out with a likely rise from both Ferrari, Mercedes, Hulkenberg, Piastri, Ocon. I think have also got reasonable chance. Maybe we're being too knee-jerky and reactive and panicking about the budget, but 1.2 million is 1.2 million. That's quite significant. So if I'm not satisfied with just going with this team and giving up the 1.2 million, I'm then now considering to just cut these guys completely out. And because of budget restrictions, I need to make cuts elsewhere. I don't want to move Piastri away. I've considered Antonelli. I don't think I'm going to go down that route because of the points potential of Piastri compared to the price gain of Antonelli. Doesn't particularly excite me. The extra 0.3 you're likely to get from Antonelli for me is not enough considering the points differential between the two assets in terms of expected points. Therefore, where am I going to get my funds from? I have to get my funds from down here, from the Constructors. So I have to end up dropping my big Constructors. Therefore, I've sorted this by value. We'll then go for what I think is the next best pairing of Constructors, which is McLaren, who I think are the best team. I think they have great qualifying pace. I think they have great race pace. I think, yes, the Ferraris, Mercedes and Max Verstappen are thereabouts, and they're in the mix, and there's a chance to threaten McLaren this weekend. But I think overall, on average, what I expect to see is McLaren's to win. I think Piastri's going to win the sprint race. I think he's got at least a very good chance of winning the sprint race. There's no guarantee. He's got Verstappen and Hamilton ahead of him. He's got his work cut out, but I think he's got the car capable of doing it. I think Piastri and Norris have got a great chance of qualifying, again, kind of front row, winning the Grand Prix. I think they've got the best chance over the likes of Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes. Therefore, I'm back in the McLaren. Now, to pair the McLarens, I cannot afford to go with the Mercedes team because I got hit by budget in Australia. If I could go Mercedes here and afford people that don't lose me loads of budget in here, then I would. I cannot. Some people that can go like that, fine. You're probably giving up you're probably sat with someone like Doohan or Hadjar Bortoleto and you're going to lose value. If you're happy with that, that's fine. I can't go there. So that's why the next best option for me is Williams. Williams are, in my opinion, fairly likely to gain value. They lost value because of Science DNF in Australia. But as we know from the F1 Fantasy Tools, etc., how the algorithm works this year, they only need a handful of points to actually climb up another 0.6. I think they're a reasonable chance of going up in price. Obviously, they've got the DQ question mark hanging over their heads, but we'll see how that plays out. I think the next best option. Other than that, you've got Alpine, who I think are going to struggle to get that 0.6 rise, so I'm not going to go there. Aston Martin may also struggle to get that rise. Don't really want to go there. Haas probably the next best option. They're very likely to get the 0.6 rise, but their points potential, in my opinion, is far worse than the Williams, so why wouldn't I just go Williams? And then I've got 18.3 million to fill in the final 2 slots. What do I do with that? I could go with Albon, but then if I go Albon, who's not guaranteed, but closely guaranteed to get a rise, I'm stuck again, one of these guys that are going to lose me the budget, and then I'm just going around in circles on wildcarding to get away from these guys. What's the point of me putting them back in? It just doesn't make any sense. So Albon doesn't make the cut for my budget. He is fine if you can afford him alongside someone like a Behrman or something, perhaps, but I can't. Therefore, I am likely to go Tsunoda. Again, there's a close competition between Tsunoda and Behrman, but I think I prefer Tsunoda. And then past that, we bring in Lance Stroll to complete the team. And this is where my thinking is at right now. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. 2 times on Piastri, wildcard to activate. Hopefully gain some budget, get some decent points. That's kind of where I'm at. This is where I'm at. Hopefully that summary kind of made sense. Again, I'm going to have a last little look through the chat if there's any last minute questions, but otherwise I'm looking to wrap up in the next few minutes. So yeah, last minute questions, anyone want to chuck anything in, we'll try and answer now. Looks like Behrman has more chances to gain budget over Tsunoda. Yeah, I think the budget between Tsunoda and Behrman is fairly minimal. I think it's fairly minimal. Tsunoda needs 11 points here to get the big rise, which I think is very doable in a sprint. Behrman only needs 6, so yeah, Behrman is easier to get there, but I personally think Behrman's going to fall back in the sprint. He's going to lose a couple of points, so that 6 becomes 7, 8, 9 before he goes into qualifying later on. Whereas Tsunoda, he's capable of maintaining position, maybe getting an overtake or positions gain, maybe picking up a point in the sprint. So, and then he's potentially going into qualifying later with only sort of 7, 8 to get here, potentially. Again, anything could happen. He could DNF and it's a disaster, but that's just life of the fantasy manager. I'm leaning towards Tsunoda personally. Albino says, are you going to wildcard then? Yes. Right now, 4 hours, 23 minutes away from the deadline. I'm not locking in and not activating it on stream right now because I want to wait for the Williams news to come out first so I get a better understanding of what's going on. But I'm looking very likely to be using my wildcard and going for this team. Henry asks Oscar and Yuki or Kimi and Albon. Oscar and Yuki. There they are, sat on the team that I want to lock in. Kimi and Albon are fine options, but I think the price gain that you get from Kimi isn't outweighed enough by the points potential of Piastri. Would you do a -10 to switch out George Russell? No, I think Russell's fine. It's not super exciting having him as your probable 2 times driver, but I don't think it's worth a -10. Tamarin says, going to make a new second team this weekend to see if we can catch up with my original team. That would be kind of amusing, actually. That would be kind of amusing to see if the budget from a new team of 100 million can actually outrace someone that's already got some points on the board. What about Albon? Again, I've discussed Albon with my budget. I can't get him in here without including someone like a Hajar Bortoleto, basically. If I could get Albon, I mean, let's have a look at it. If I maybe cut down put Albon in 4.5, I just can't do it. I have to get Albon in this team structure, I have to either bring in one of these guys like a Hajar or Bortoleto and just take the losses, because I'd end up having to probably keep Ocon. And then, I can't even afford that. Yeah, it's just too much of a headache. For my budget, it's too much of a headache to try and get Albon in here. The only other way around it would be to get rid of Piastri for an Antonelli. But I think I trust Piastri to score better than Antonelli. I mean, of course, anything can happen. If Piastri DNFs, it's a total disaster. And everyone that went Antonelli and took that risk will be absolutely laughing their head off because they will be getting points and price gain. And all the Piastri owners will be crying themselves to sleep, myself included, to the sound of violin music just kind of drifting in from the hallway. But no, yeah, let's bring back the actual team that I have going on here, which is this. Has anything been released about Williams' possible DQ? No. They are going to the stewards at midnight in about 2 hours. They'll be with the stewards. We'll find out in a couple of hours. Behrman has qualified too highly for my liking. Yep, I agree with you, Glenn. I agree with most things you say, Glenn. To be honest, do you want to just make your own YouTube channel and I can just give this up and I'll just like subscribe and watch you, because I honestly agree with a lot of stuff that you come up with in my comments and my videos. It's worth to take a -10 and switch Hadjar to Behrman. The rest is plus in budget. -10 to switch Hadjar to Behrman. I mean, it depends how much weight you're putting into the budget. Behrman has got an okay chance at getting the budget gain, but not great. I'm not sure I like it. That said, you're kind of guaranteeing yourself a budget loss with Hadjar. I don't know if it's worth the 10 points, so I don't know. Aston Martin instead of Williams. I mean, potentially if the Williams DQ is going to negatively affect our teams, which I don't think it will, but if it does, Aston Martin are an option. Let's have a quick look on the tools to look at how likely they are to gain in price. So yeah, they're not actually too bad, are they? They only need 9 points to get that price rise, so it's actually quite reasonable. Yeah, quite reasonable. I've been talking most of the stream about Has being my backup for Williams, but Aston Martin there, I really wouldn't be excited to be having Aston Martin and Stroll in my team. I'd much rather have Williams, but yeah, it's an option. It's an option. Why not drop McLaren for Ferrari so you get more budget in your team? Yeah, I'm just not sure. The points potential of McLaren is just so strong, and I'm not sure I trust the Ferraris in terms of race pace just yet. Yes, the Ferraris definitely look so much better than they did in Australia, and I think they're going to do a lot better this weekend. Are they worth it here? Like, what am I going to do with that extra couple of million? I can't even afford to switch Tsunoda up to an Albon. If I could get to Albon, maybe I could like an Albon and then get like a Behrman in here. It looks okay. But I might as well, if I'm doing this, just kind of stick with my original team and just keep the stronger constructors here, and then just do my original kind of thinking of just switching out, doing for Hulkenberg and just going with this. It's still an option if I chicken out of the wild card in the next few hours. But yeah, my budget is pretty pants. It's like 98.5 or something. Someone's asked in the chat. Yeah, 98.7. I mean, I know lots of people have been hit worse than that, but yeah, it's pretty still. Considering the last like few years of playing this game, your budget just kind of naturally increases. Like after race week 1, you're normally in like 100.5 or 101 if you've done really well. The fact that a majority of us, I feel, have gone down is kind of shocking, but that's just how things are. Right. Last year, Aston Martin was so good at Chinese Grand Prix. Okay. Interesting. I haven't really looked at what happened. Let me have a look on the other tab. So we got China Grand Prix 2024. So we'll look at the results. So Alonso came 7th. And where is Stroll? 15th. I mean, it's not that great. Fernando Alonso doing Fernando Alonso things, but yeah, yeah. Right, I think that's pretty. I know I've missed like a ton of stuff in the chat. I apologise for that because it's hard to keep up, and like the chat is, if you scroll through it, it's mental for someone that's chatting away here. But yeah, let me just round it off. Put my team on screen of where I think I am going. So there's plenty of other options you can go. You don't have to do what I'm doing. And if anyone copied my team going into Australia, then you got massively done over there, because my team took an absolute batter in Australia. And I'm hoping, what has happened now? I saw the blue of red. I thought it was Williams, but I put Red Bull in by mistake. Where are we? Ocon comes back in. Hulkenberg's, yeah. This is where I'm at. We're just a few hours away from the deadline. I'll wait for the Williams possible DQ news to come out in a couple of hours. But where my head is at right now is here. Yeah. So, any interest in Hamilton? Final question of the chat. No, because he's just too expensive. How can I mean, what would I have to do to get Hamilton in here? I just prefer Piastri personally. I mean, I can get him in. It is feasible. But again, I'd have to go to like a Behrman as the the best of a bad bunch down here, and that'd give me a double Has. I'm not liking it. I'd much rather have Piastri, who I believe is in the strongest car. I think I would just kind of rather stick my guns here. I think Hamilton's a fine option, but I think in terms of actual like monetary value and the fact that he's going to need more. I mean, what is the actual price gain potential of Hamilton? He needs 25 points, and that's very doable. Very doable. So he could get that price gain, but he's still got a bit more of a hill to climb than likes of Piastri, who I think is just a little bit more likely to get that price gain, as well as just being in a better car. Yes, the Ferrari are improved, but I still think McLaren are the best. I may well be wrong. Ferrari may well just embarrass me and put my team in the dirt again for a second week running. But this is where I'm at. I'm only one person with one mind. This is what I've kind of come up with for the time being. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Oh my god, I was trying to round off the stream and now there's about 6 more messages in here. What are you guys doing to me? Right, last. I'm going to speed through these very quickly as much as I can. If Williams are DQ, what would you do? I mean, it depends. If they're just DQ from sprint quali, it shouldn't affect our teams. It should just put them at the back for the sprint race, and therefore Williams are actually a really good asset, so I actually quite like it. I think it's unlikely to be of detriment, unless there's some weird thing that happens and they end up getting DQing like for the weekend or whatever, but I don't think that's going to happen. If I'm making 4 changes, should I wildcard? Yeah, I said earlier on the stream, my threshold for wildcarding is fairly low. So if I'm doing like a -20 or beyond, I'm just wildcarding. This team on screen is a -50. That's how drastically I'm changing my team. So it's 100% a wildcard for me. But yeah, if I'd say -20, I think you should be strongly considering the wildcard. -30, lock it in. Don't even think past it. Off topic. How's your baby doing? I remember from last year's stream you became father. Yeah, that is true. Well, yeah, my baby is actually going to be 2 next year. It was 2 years ago she was born. So yeah, I've got two young daughters. They're doing really, really well. So thank you very much for asking. Yeah, very proud dad. Why would the Williams DQ be a bad thing? They start at the back and get a ton of overtake points. Yep, that's kind of my point. Hopefully we get news before it's time to lock in. 3am is rough. Yeah, I know. It's tough for anyone in Europe because we're waiting for this Williams news. I was thinking like, I'm going to log off this stream and just relax for a little bit after the tension and stress of the stream, and then go to bed, and just kind of lock in my team and just go to bed. But now I'm going to have to hang around and wait for this Williams news. It's kind of frustrating, but there we go. For people asking if it's better to start a new account, I would say a couple of things. First of all, I haven't looked at the terms of service. I'm not going to lie. Who actually reads a lot of these things? Not me. I'm one of those people that just says, terms and conditions, yep, whatever, go with it. But apparently it's in the terms of service not to create another account or whatever. So you would be going against the term of service if you want to create a new team. At the same time, I know some people have been hit so badly in Australia that have literally got negative points, huge budget losses. And if you just want to, if you feel crushed from that and you just want to have fun and basically reset it, I wouldn't fault people for doing that. I'm not going to recommend it because it's against terms of service and it's like a dishonest thing, whatever. I wouldn't be doing it myself because I feel like it's dishonest to myself. But if you've been hit so hard and you don't take fantasy that seriously, you just want to see how you can do with a new team, then I wouldn't fault anyone for it personally. This will be your team, asked Nico. Yeah, not 100%. I'm still waiting for the Williams news, but this is where my brain's at the moment. Like I said, I'm going to come off the stream in a second and just have a little last look through just any other news that's coming out and see what's going on in the fantasy community, to see what other ideas people have got. But this is where my head's at right now. Australian fans have this all year. Yeah, I know. It must be quite hard to be a fantasy manager in Australia and in that time zone. Will you tweet once you finalise your team? Yeah, I suppose I can do. I don't know when exactly I'm going to be locking my team for sure. But yeah, if I remember to, I will put a tweet out. If they're DQ for the whole weekend, then what would you do? I mean, if Williams are DQ for the whole weekend, obviously I'm not going for the Williams constructor. I'm either going to go down the route of Haas or maybe Aston Martin. If someone's put the idea in my head that Aston Martin's might not be terrible, it just doesn't look great, does it? So if Williams are DQ'd like the whole weekend, worst case scenario, can't go with them. I'll go either Aston Martin or Haas, or I'll go back to this team, get rid of Durham, put Hulkenberg in, accept the losses from Bortoleto and Hadjar, cry a little bit about it, be upset, but then also just be happy with the points potential. If Williams are going to be that bad and they're going to DQ the weekend, I'd probably just suck up the points, the budget loss. Just go with this, just ride it out. Yeah. Ash asked, what if my mother happens to open a new account and I just happen to recommend the picks? And I like your thinking. Hey, Mom, can you please create an account on this F1 website for me? So, yeah, great idea. Not against terms of service at all, right? What do you think about Antonelli, Stroll, McLaren, Mercedes, and -10 instead of wildcard? Yeah, I've spoken quite a bit about Antonelli. I think if you want to go all out on budget, he's a great option. If you are still a bit more concerned about points potential, then I think someone like a Piastri is just a much better option in that department. So it kind of depends where you are in your line of thinking. Do you want to just go all in budget? If you do, Antonelli's your man. If you're more worried about balancing the points on this sprint weekend where big points are on offer, Piastri's your man. Or, it doesn't have to be Piastri. It's not literally just Piastri or Antonelli, but that's where my brain is. So, I'm sure lots of people go Norris, people will go Verstappen, Russell, etc. People go Hamilton, he's on pole. Why not put some eggs in the Hamilton basket? So, yeah. I think if I don't end the stream now, I'm going to be doing this all night. So I will say thank you very much for joining me. It's been good to bounce ideas off you. It's been good to hear some of your thoughts and opinions. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, because I do these fairly regularly and I do team selections every race. If I'm not doing a live stream on a Friday, I will generally put out a final thoughts video on a Friday as well. I haven't done a final thoughts video today because of the nature of the timing of things being in, the deadline being at 3 a.m. and everything. And yeah, it's just a bit of a faff. So that's why I've done a live stream, which has been great. It's been really nice to chat to you guys. But yeah, I am going to wrap it up. So yeah, keep an eye out for what happens with the Williams news in a couple of hours. But yeah, likely at the moment to go for the McLaren Williams wildcard team. So yeah, thanks very much, and I will catch you soon, hopefully. Thanks very much for joining me. I'm gonna shut down the stream. Thanks very much, and have a lovely weekend. And remember, if it is a disaster, just smile and move on. I'll play the violin for you in a week or so's time. So yeah, have fun, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Enjoy the racing.